What's up, people? You're gonna be fully satisfied. You're gonna be 100% satisfied. What's up, people? Welcome back to Glen's Reviews for Mistress Peace Theater, where we talk about anything that's horror-related, but mostly nerdy shit. And today, we're gonna talk about everybody's favorite killer doll, Chucky.
Good night, asshole! You stupid bitch, you filthy slut! Did you fuck with me? I'm gonna get you, fuckers!
Just not that Chucky. We're gonna be talking about this Chucky right here, the reboot, the reimagining, if you will.
Nobody told me the fucking doll was Ginger.
Time to open you up. Let's see what we're dealing with.
This, however, is not Chucky. This is Sid the Science Kid from that PBS show that was on a number of years ago. I don't have a Chucky doll, so this is the closest thing I could get to a Chucky doll.
Now that's funny. I've got a lot of questions and big ideas. I think the science kid.
But most of you probably don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about, so I know what you're all saying. It's a remake. It probably means it's gonna be shit. But honestly, it was pretty enjoyable. It's also one of my favorite pre-COVID memories where me and my sister got to get out to the theater and see this movie while theaters were still, you know, pretty lucrative businesses before all this crap. Well, me and my sister were always big Chucky fans too growing up, so we had to make it a point to get out to see this movie together. And it was a lot of fun, to be honest. Well, this Chucky's kind of a departure from the original Child's Play, as it takes the murdering psychopath, putting his soul into a doll and turning it evil that way, in favor of AI that turned evil because of a disgruntled Vietnamese factory worker who removes the doll's safety protocols and pretty much turns it evil and dangerous, equaling a doll that's got a dangerous case of attachment and abandonment issues. Now, this version of Child's Play had to be different, like a certain percentage amount different than the original Child's Play, since there's a strange rights and licensing issue because of MGM and United Artists owning the rights to the first Child's Play movie, but Universal had the rights to each subsequent movie after that one in the original series, the Brad Dourif, Don Mancini series. But it's just kind of odd. So when they wanted to remake Child's Play, and they did this one, they said, okay, it's got to be a certain percentage amount different. You can't use, you know, putting the murderous soul into a doll and then having the doll attack a kid that way. You can use the name Chucky, but you can't use the name Good Guys either. It's got to be the Buddy doll, which they went with Buddy since, you know, Chucky was pretty much a spoof on My Buddy dolls anyway in the 80s. And they did a good job of scaring off a lot of kids from ever wanting that toy for Christmas that year. I kind of wanted one until my dad brought the movie home. And I kind of didn't want one after that. Shit, I'm scared of that thing right there that's looking at me in the back of my senior. Fuck that thing.
Fuck you.
It seems like black humor is really the cornerstone of this movie. Like, a lot of the deaths and things get played off for last, but it works well in this movie. A lot of the musical cues and dialogue are kind of used in a satirical manner as well.
You beckoned?
What's the problemo?
Where's the rest of him? Why?
All these things really fuel the parody element of this movie, the fact that it's a parody. I mean, even if you boil it down to the movie's core character and antagonist of the movie, Chucky, who's adequately voiced by the awesome Mark Hamill, the doll just looks fucking ridiculous. It just looks goofy. Even there's a scene where Andy's trying to scare his mom's boyfriend, who's a complete dick to him throughout the whole movie. And he has Chucky do all these like weird faces and stuff like that, and he practices in front of him and like some of his friends, and the doll just looks ridiculous, but it works well in this setting.
Perfect! Okay, yes, just like that. Okay.
The whole thing was pretty much a play on laugh anyways for what the My Buddy phenomenon was back in the 80s and 90s, which ultimately begged the question in the first place, who the fuck would ever want one of these anyways?
My buddy until the end. More than a buddy. You're my best friend.
Well, as far as the story goes, it pretty much follows similar beats to the original Child's Play. We get an introduction at the beginning that tells where the doll came from and how it turned evil. In this one, like I said, it's a disgruntled Vietnamese employee who gets pissed off after getting yelled at by his boss and pretty much fired, removes the doll's safety protocols. That's why it's evil, gets shipped out to the United States. The defective doll then gets brought into the Zed Mart, where Karen Barkley comes across it and asks to take it home for his son Andy for his birthday. And of course, like the other one, it's a brand new town. They all feel a little bit awkward. They're out of place yet. They're kind of coming into their own, kind of getting used to their new environment and all that kind of stuff. From there, we meet a bunch of new characters. We get to meet Andy's mom's boyfriend, who's a complete dick, named Shane, who you actually want to see die in this movie. So it's actually kind of fitting. We meet Detective Norris, who in this movie was race swapped by the very talented Brian Henry. Detective Norris is a fun character, even though it seems like there's some racist elements in there. It's the stereotypical black son, kind of lives with his mammy. You know what I mean? Kind of like what Transformers did.
That's my mammy. Hey, mammy! Oh, don't be like that. If I had a rock, I'll bust your head, bitch. Say, man, she deaf, you know?
I'm not calling the movie racist, though. The movie's not racist. It's just some lighthearted racial elements that kind of plays well within one another. You can tell all these actors are having fun with their parts and with the story.
Oh, white got dead in a watermelon patch. Poetic.
Like, there's kind of a running gag throughout the whole movie with this company called Glen that owns the Buddy dolls and seemingly everything else in the movie that can be interconnected through internet or Bluetooth. And that's kind of like the running theme of the movie, too, with Buddy.
Buddy can connect to and control all of your Glen products and smart home devices. He can be your personal DJ, help tidy up the house, control your entire smart hub system.
He can control all these other devices and kind of makes light in a satirical manner. There's that word satirical again, but that's pretty much what this movie is, of our need to be connected and to connect all of our devices to one thing.
I cannot process that command.
Oh, wait a minute. It says here you gotta sync his knowledge base to the cloud before he can connect to any other Glen product.
Which is pretty much what, like, Google is, you know. Well, Chucky and Andy begin bonding throughout the beginning of the movie, and Chucky soon learns a lot of the things about Andy, like things he's not particularly fond of, like his mom's cat, who's named Mickey Rooney, which was, I thought, kind of funny, and his mom's slimy, shitty-ass boyfriend, both of whom end up dead in the name of Chucky trying to preserve his and Andy's playtime and his sick, insatiable need to be Andy's one and only best friend. Yep, so the cat goes. Then there's a small mishap with Andy's mom's slimy-ass boyfriend, like what I said before, which leads to a pretty funny scene with the guy's face on a watermelon on Andy's desk Chucky put there. So him and his friends depower Chucky, throws him down a laundry chute, thinking they got rid of him, until the slimy tech guy at this apartment complex who sits there and watches Andy's mom all the time and actually has a feed to her shower somehow, which you'd think would be illegal, and how the hell would he get away with something like this? He ends up finding Chucky. He powers up Chucky, not knowing that this thing's evil, and Chucky decides to have a little fun with him, and he ends in a big sloppy mess all over the floor. Chucky gets out of that basement he was in and passes himself off as one of his other friend's toys, but he makes it known to Andy that they will not be separated. More and more shit happens, more and more people die, and Andy's trying to tell everyone what's going on, and of course, nobody will believe him, not his friends, not his mom, and eventually it leads to one hell of a big payoff for this pretty adequate remake of a classic horror flick. At the Zed Mart, where Andy's mom Karen works, they're having a big release for the Buddy 2 product that they're coming out with, and Chucky ends up activating every Glen product in the place.
It's time to play.
And goes on one massive killing spree with a bunch of these drones that end up chopping all these people up. He stabs this one guy in the throat who's wearing like this Buddy mask, this costume, and it ends in a pretty hilarious manner. That way, sprays blood all over his little girl. It was awesome. And the Buddy Bear, holy shit. We mentioned My Buddy, and this is a movie about, you know, killer dolls and animatronic dolls and interactive dolls. I wonder if this was almost like a callback to Teddy Ruxpin, but this thing just looks like a giant turd. Oh, man. And it all culminates to a final showdown between Andy and Chucky in the back of the Zed Mart, where in a clever example of foreshadowing from the beginning of the movie, Chucky ends up hanging his mom with a forklift and a rope. Andy has to ward off and defeat his deadly friend. should review that movie once. That movie was pretty interesting. And at the end of the movie, we see Andy, his mom, Detective Norris, and Andy's friends all destroy Chucky in a pretty gruesome manner and rid themselves of the nightmare. Or did they? Yes, they set this up for a sequel that is sadly probably never coming, because I don't think the movie did well enough. It went up against Toy Story 4 that same weekend when it came out in 2019, and Toy Story 4 just annihilated, which is sad, because you go look at the quality of these two movies, Toy Story 4 was a shit shoot. I did not like it because they took what was great about the other ones and destroyed it by shoving a bunch of social justice bullshit politics in it, but we're not going to get into that. We're talking about Chucky here. And honestly, me and my sister had a great time watching this. I've watched this movie quite a few times after it came out on Blu-ray. I think the writers and director Lars Klevberg did a pretty good job with what they were given. They weren't allowed to use all the stuff from the original Child's Play movie. They just said, we want to make a reboot of Child's Play. But you can't do this, this, and this. And you got to make something that fans are going to enjoy and that's going to make us a decent amount of money. So I feel like they were kind of backed into a corner between a rock and a hard place, if you will, and they didn't really know what to do with it. So they went the best possible route. It's kind of like a parody. You kind of feel for a lot of the characters in the movie, and you get a good laugh at the end of the day, too, because Chucky was just kind of funny to begin with, you know what I mean?
Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
Honestly, I give this movie a big fat A. I know I'll get some shit from that from some people, but, you know, it is what it is. I enjoyed this movie. I like this movie a lot, actually. Honestly, is it iconic, or as awesome, or memorable, or scary as the original Child's Play? Probably not. But the thing is, as far as remakes and reboots and all that kind of stuff goes, you shouldn't be remaking movies anyways unless you got something original and fresh and interesting to add to it. And I feel like this one did with taking the whole AI turned evil thing. If you watch the movie, you end up feeling like sympathetic for Chucky. You know, unlike the murderous psychopath kind of plot. It's kind of interesting in a way. Like, Chucky can't tell the difference between, like, killing and what's fun and what's wrong and all that kind of stuff. He wants his best friend, and he'll do anything to have his time with his best friend. And that line just starts getting skewed and blurred for Chucky, and at the end of the movie, he's got to go. He's got to die, you know, because he just took things too far. It's like I said, it's a parody, and the best way I can describe the characters, too, is like each one of them are awkward. I tried looking for a character that wasn't awkward, but that's the one word I can use to describe all the characters, despite their personalities and their attitudes. They're all awkward. Socially awkward. There are a lot of other things about this movie that I kind of glossed over for time's sake, like pacing, editing, the writing, the story, all that stuff. I think it's pretty damn good. But one thing that I really have to mention is the special effects in this movie. They went the practical route, which I really, really appreciate, and only used CG when absolutely necessary, when they couldn't achieve the shot that they wanted to achieve just using practical effects. I mean, the animatronics on Chucky in this movie look pretty awesome. I really like the way it looks. Does it hold a cigar to the original Chucky? I don't think I'd go that far, but they're pretty effective in this movie. If I could say anything about this movie, is that it's fun. You know, OG Chucky fans might look at it and say it's not supposed to be fucking fun. It's supposed to be a horror movie. The hell are you doing? It's not supposed to be. The older Chucky movies were fun. I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, this movie still leaps and bounds better than what we've gotten out of the Chucky franchise over the years. Like, just like a Cult of Chucky, Curse of Chucky, and yet the ultimate worst Chucky movie of all time, which made me not even want to look at Chucky anymore, was Seed of Chucky. My God, what a steaming, awful turd. Pile of shit, if you will. Besides, I don't see how too many people can bitch at me for my review and giving this movie an A, and saying that this movie shouldn't be fun, and it should be a horror fest, like the original Chucky. The fucking movie is called Child's Play. What kind of a movie were you expecting with a name like that? I mean, come on, let's just boil it down here. This movie's still fun, it's still got a few scary elements in it, the deaths are great, original, creative. I would love to see a sequel to it, but I know we probably won't. Well, that is all the time we have left for this episode of Glen's Reviews. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Remember, I love you guys, and I will catch you in the next video, whatever video that happens to be. Take care, you guys. I'll see you later. I think something might be wrong with this thing.
Shut up before I kick your fucking teeth in.
I don't think it's supposed to say that.